Hi guys, I've just decided to come on to share some magic with you because I just had a brief conversation in the group, and that conversation has sparked me an inspiration to come and share. To share the importance, the real importance for projectors to really learn how to decondition shame around receiving. Shame around receiving. Because I had to learn this, and I see this so much. It's a pattern that I see in so many people. But for projectors, you really need to understand that you are here to slide through life. The projector is one of the most magnetic in the human design system. And when we are in a space of alignment and we are living as an open channel, as in open to receiving in all the way that life can support us, you will be shocked at how you can flow through life and receive. And so I'm going to tell you some stories about how I actually learned that. But it took unwinding and deconditioning and shame around all of these beliefs and assumptions that we have to look after ourselves, that we have to be independent, that we have to work hard. These are all conditioning. It's all conditioning. And it's just absolutely not true. So let's go back to 2018. I'm working. In fact, this is something I've been working on recently. Like I've observed a pattern that's rearing its head, and it's something I'm unwinding right now. And that is overworking and undercharging. It's still showing up in some ways. And I've noticed and diagnosed it. And so now, because I see the pattern, I can accept it, I can embrace it, and I can change it, right? So accept, embrace, transform. Because I have learned and mastered the art of receiving. Now it's about, how do I transfer that skill to my business? And how do I show up in my creative contribution in ways that are easier and that allow me to receive more, right? That's beside the point. 2018, really, really working hard. And even though I'm making really good money, like I'm making sometimes 55 grand, sometimes 85 grand, but working so hard for this money and undercharging in many ways as well. So overgiving because I want to give and I want to support, but undercharging. So I end up with nothing. The universe strips me bare and I have nothing. I have no cash. I have to go and take a £4,000 loan. And also I'm throwing money around everywhere. I'm giving money away. I've got people taking money from me. I'm giving it, spending it. I don't save. I'm always the patterns, right? It's all mindset, all limiting beliefs. So I end up with nothing, having all this money moving through me. And I go to, I go to Thailand, and obviously this 4 grand doesn't last very long, right? So by the time it gets to January, February, March, April, I get back to England, and I have covered my rent with this 4 grand as well. So I've covered my rent, and at this point now, I'm like, I don't know, what am I meant to do now? But the universe has supported me ever since. And the key is, one of the things, that April, I got back, a guy that I knew of Instagram invited me to Barcelona for the weekend and flew me over, flew my ticket. I was living in an air, everything's paid, just paid for. Same with the Windstar yacht, all of it was paid for. We were going to Michelin-star restaurants in Barcelona. It was beautiful, no strings attached, unconditional giving, because I was open to receiving. But for so much of my life, I had the belief that I had to work really hard to receive something in exchange. And I gave you guys, I don't know if you remember the story that I put in the group ages ago about walking through Portobello. It was that year, it was around that time where this guy offered to give me a geode, a crystal geode, because this was the time I was beginning to bring awareness to the patterns of not being open to receiving. And over that January, February, March to April, I had worked on this and done my shadow work, and the universe I started to really receive in big ways. But it wasn't money per se. It was trips. It was my rent being paid. It was stuff being sorted out, having support, being supported by life. So the guy gave me a geode. He said, you could have that. And I was like constricted. So feel how you feel in your body when someone tries to give you something unconditionally. Where in your body is the old belief stored? Where is the shame? Where is whose voice are you hearing in your head that says you shouldn't be allowed, you shouldn't be taking anything, you've got to give to receive, all of this stuff. My mum is massively bad at receiving and has weird shit around that, and so she doesn't receive a lot. Simple as that. The world is mirroring your inner world. Let me just see if somebody's there, because I can see a thing. So I want to talk to you about how this changed for me in a big way when I got to. So I was in. Okay, so all right. So I left Costa Rica, and I told you I got into that house because I was guided to this house. Didn't have the cash, and the money miraculously came for the house. Then, and how that transpired was I got the insight to ask the previous hotel, because I'd paid all in advance, but I didn't stay there for the whole time. So my insight told me, ask for the money back. Again, something I would never do. Usually, I would have just left the money and thought, you've lost it. That was your thing. But I followed my intuition. This is why following your guidance is so important. Learning to follow your inner guidance. So I rang the hotel or emailed, and I said, look, I'm really, really sorry to do this to you, but I've decided to stay in this place. Can I get the money back? So I had to wait to get the answer because the guy was in Germany, the owner was in Germany. But meanwhile, my inner guidance is saying to me, just don't worry. And I'm thinking, there's no certainty here. Like, I don't know if I'm going to get this cash. But my soul is saying, just stay and just trust. So at night, when the rain was falling down on the roof, I would be feeling the anxiety rise in me. Like, what am I going to do? How do I do this? Struggling to go and make it. And calm, like get calm, face it, feel it, and just release and shit. And they were guiding me to transform my thinking, transform my energy around it. And the money came the day before I had to leave, and he had returned the exact amount that I needed to pay that rent. So these lessons came along the way. But the thing I really wanted to share is when I got to, because there's another thing along the way, but I'll hold back. When I got to Malaysia, this is when I got to Malaysia to do a visa run. In my mind, I'm going to do a visa run to get back to Thailand. But I only had £300. And I had already booked a flight to Penang in advance because I knew I needed a return ticket. All right, let me tell you the story. So when I left Costa Rica and booked a one-way flight to Jamaica, they said, sorry, ma'am, you can't board your flight. And I was like, because I didn't have a return ticket. And I was like, oh my God. And now at this point, I've gone to the cash point. My ATM says there's no money in there. Oh, you'll catch me live. Great, Della Rose. This is all about the magic. This is all about being open to receiving. So I get to the ATM. It says card has been declined. I've got no internet on my phone, but the airport gave us an hour of Wi-Fi. This was in San Jose. So I WhatsApped my mum and I said, Mum, I'm really, really sorry, but can you pay for a return flight to anywhere, Costa Rica or anywhere? And she was like, no, I'm not doing it, because she did not want me to go to Jamaica. So she's like, I'm sorry, no, I'm not doing it. And I was like, oh, for God's sake. So I had 15 minutes before they said, otherwise you're not going to board. So I reached out to a friend. I said, V, please, can you just pay for this ticket, blah, blah, blah. So she sent me a boarding pass. And so I went up to the counter, I showed the boarding pass. They said, okay, Mom, you can go and book the flight. So I got onto the flight, got into Jamaica. And then again, my Wi-Fi came on and V had said, have you got through? Because my card was declined. See how the magic works. I didn't have a return flight. So, but when I got through Jamaica, I had to then lie and show them the boarding pass and the date that I was leaving on this non-flight. But I got in. And it was just like magic, magic, magic. Now I got to Jamaica and I was meant to be there for 90 days because I wanted to use the whole 90 days flowing with life. And when I got there, it was heavy. It was just so heavy. And I was in the grill and even the plants were really unhappy, having been in Costa Rica, which was very peaceful, very quiet. So my guide said to me, just start doing these practices, basically just stay calm, tune in to what your soul is saying. And what my soul was saying was, I need to get out of here. And so I prayed. I had a dream. And that dream said, I saw myself getting on a flight to, it was like some sort of ship to the island, to Thailand. And it was so real. And I felt so good. I was so happy. Woke up that morning, there was £1,000 in my account. And I took that £1,000 and I booked a flight to Thailand and I got out of there. But this is where the story really is what I wanted to say. When I got to Malaysia, I only had £300 and I booked into a shitty little hotel, and I used the final amount to book myself for 3 weeks into the house, this beautiful 5-bedroom house. Which was a vintage Chinese UNESCO listed building, UNESCO listed building, and I knew it was the place for me. And it had the only bit of furniture it had in the living room was a grand piano, and my soul was like, this is the place. So I get there and I end up meeting this woman called Ying, and then when the money was running out, I was thinking, like, my guides kept saying, don't you worry. Again, it was, don't worry, all will be well. And I'm thinking, well, how? Like, how is it going to be well? I've got no way of making any money. What? My ego is like, what? And I'm getting told, just relax. And so I had a dream. The dream came. And the dream was, I was playing with her child and I'd been asked to stay. Long story short, Ying said to me, I explained, I said, look, I have no cash and I don't know what to do. And she said, you can stay here for absolutely free, but because it was an Airbnb, if anybody comes, can you just change the sheets for me? I was like, yeah, absolutely, because she lived on the mainland. So again, do you see, we could either frame it as walking the earth and being irresponsible, or is it that life will support me if I open up and allow it to come in the ways that it's meant to come, rather than trying to control? So the two things I learned, one, I learned to start letting go of control of how I thought things should be. And I started to open up to allowing abundance to come to me. But the other thing I learned whilst there, this is the thing that sparked it off this morning. I learned that I had been, for so long, I had shame around being dependent on somebody else. So I had created these very strong walls and very strong boundaries around being self-sufficient and being highly independent. And what I was being told, I was being taught, was to open up. The line that came to me, and this is all real, absolutely true stuff, was to be interdependent, we have to learn to be dependent. For real interdependence to take place, you have to soften your heart and learn how to be dependent yourself, because I was too wrapped up in codependent patterns, which was all about saving others, being self-sufficient, being completely an island, like being hyper independent. And what I was being taught, because I'm here to teach a new method, a new prosperity consciousness, a new way of doing business, a new way of operating in society, is that interdependence breeds success. You cannot be interdependent if you don't know how to be dependent, if you don't know how to receive. So I hope that you got some magic out of that this morning. A big part, let me just see if there's anything going on in the comments. a new way of operating in society. Yeah. Okay. So does that ring true for you? Like, what are your stories with abundance? What's your stories with receiving? What are your limitations around it? What have you been taught to believe about being receptive or about receiving from others? So okay, I'll tell you, before I wrap up, I was in Jamaica and I'd come from Costa Rica where everyone was, I had food. So the neighbor would give me coconuts, or someone would take me on a fishing trip. Someone showed me that. And so I was living in a very supportive environment where the people would help me, basically. And when I got to Jamaica, like, that was not, Jamaica is pure survival energy. And I'd actually booked this hotel. They put me in the wrong room, and I don't know what had happened, but I can't remember, but the lady there said something like, those who, what was the phrase she used? God supports those who look after themselves, or something like that. This very Christian, or I don't know if it's a Christian teaching, but very, God helps those who help themselves. That was the phrase. And it rung a line for me, because I was learning the opposite. I was learning that God helps those who are open to receiving. And that God helps those who help themselves is a very puritanical and not true, in my opinion, what I learned. Now, okay, I'll tell you the final thing. So you love the story. It's exactly magic in play, showing us how we could be energetically connected to the greater plan. And you've hit the nail on the head. That's it. If you are open to your dharma path unraveling and taking you, molding you. Okay, I'll give you another story about this. When I surrendered, the moment I surrendered and opened up to life, was this exact moment. It was January 2019, and I was on my balcony in Thailand. And I was an atheist almost. I had some inkling of cosmic energy and God, but after my experiences in seeing religious exploitation and my past lives and all this, I still had a lot of anger around this idea that there was this God outside of us. And the teachings were very distorted to my body. And I'm sat there and I start singing a song. I start channeling this song, and it goes, he came to me on my balcony. I was riven with hope. He came to me. I'll be your clay for you to hold. I'll let you handle me to do what's foretold, binding spirit and soul. And those lyrics again stuck with me, and that was the moment of that was a moment of awakening for me. I realized that I had surrendered my will to thy will, and that I was now surrendering to my dharma. That I was going to allow myself to be an instrument and to be used and to create through me. It was a consciousness shift. For me, this was the beginning of a consciousness shift. The idea of the spirit within being a divine spark of consciousness and being able to be used by involution, so the external God force energy and the cosmic energy and plan, and the evolution of it happening within. The awakening within, and that there's this one supreme God that supports all of us, and that we can all move through this and work through it. So it is about the dharma, and it's about allowing things to unfold for you. So yeah, I think the key takeaway here is, in order for us to create real interdependence, we have to learn to be dependent. We have to learn to surrender. We have to learn to let go of control. We have to allow ourselves to receive. And a very simple way you can see how open you are to receiving is how well you receive a compliment. Do you say thank you very much, or do you rebuff it? I'll leave you with a little thing. today, or whenever you like, start to think about all of the beliefs that you hold around receiving and wherever it feels safe for you in your body. May us all live abundantly, in alignment, in peace, in prosperity. This is the Prosperity Queen. I'm the Frequency Queen, signing out. This is my work. This is what I'm here to teach and help people to embody. So much love. Oh, bye, Della Rose. I can't wait to see you as well on the 22nd. Love, love, love. Have a great day.